We just wanted to show you that it actually does work, that it doesn't break any laws of physics. Can I use LED light to run solar?
Uses the voltage potential. But if you
Yes.
tap into it directly, it does drain current, but it's like milliamps. Like it's such a small like amount where it'll the circuit will probably last for hours, if not days, on like a single energy source. And
Right.
yeah, I was thinking because I'm actually working on building
Well,
one of
here's
his
the thing.
newest. Yeah,
You do gotta some scientists, they're arguing back and forth, and I listen to these arguments all the time. One says that radio waves is infinite, and other people say it's not infinite. We know that light can travel hundreds of light years. Will it run down one day? Yeah. But when you're talking about running for hundreds of light years and the amount of a billion years for that light from a distant star to reach us here so we can see it in a telescope, we would say that's close enough to being infinite power as we're going to get.
yeah,
Okay. So again, when people make these arguments, you got to understand what they mean by when they're arguing the point. If they're saying that is it any absolute? The question is no. Nothing lasts forever. There is no absolutes. That is correct. But will it last longer than my lifetime? Okay. So if I take a radio wave and I got something working off that radio wave that's giving out power, like an LED light, how many LED lights can I run until that original source is exhausted? That is the question. And when you start to actually do the experiment and see how many actual LED lights is running off the wireless energy, you going you're gonna be amazed because it was like, dude, so what if I just convert that 3 volts that's running that LED lights into actual electricity
exactly. Yeah.
and putting it back into the battery?
And that's the funny part too, because people tend to ignore the time factor of your system because they get so caught up in like how much power you're using and where exactly the power is coming from. But if like say for example, if I could use my VR headset 24/7 without ever having to think about keeping it charged or recharging it, that system is useful. Or
Yes.
if I can use like for example one of my other projects that I've been working on for a while, my exoskeleton system that I'm trying to build. Been trying to build it for like past like several years. But now I've really been accelerating that process. But anyway, if I could use this to keep that running for like long periods of time, because there's like so many functions behind it working, like I already knew that there was going to be a lot of power requirement, but now with something like this, I mean, the power isn't even an issue anymore. So it's
Yes.
all about how you want to use it, not necessarily, if you have like this little source, if you can't use it or not, because you can use it. It just depends on how you want to
What,
use
what
it.
was this answer to was answer the question? How long can you say you have your phone, you have it plugged in, it's playing music. How long can you play music if you're uh got your phone plugged in?
You could probably be, I don't know, maybe like 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours.
Well, see now this is the question. All you have to do is plug in your phone, put it on the charger, start running some music. That means you're using energy. That means your phone is on, and find out how long. It's going to be more than 8 hours.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's what you're saying. I didn't hear that right. Yeah, it'll
Okay.
it'll last for as long as you can keep it charged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the whole point is that when we're talking about this system, and it was like, look, you're charging your system, and you can take off small amounts of energy. You can take off large amounts of energy, but it will deplete the battery, but not till it's dead, and then it'll recharge back up automatically.
Yeah.
That's a useful thing. Even if it's not efficient and it wastes energy, the whole point is that it's the convenience that you didn't have to plug it into something, and that means I can take it into a remote area and the way we got our configuration, and it will self-charge.
Charge. Yeah.
And that's the whole point of it. And it was like, okay, this thing's self-charged and I'm in the middle of nowhere. So they know for a fact that this is a useful thing, and people, once they start using it, everybody will start using it, because I based it on the same designs that our phones and everything else already does. And if they use, people plug in your phone because it's low power, and they says I don't want to stop talking, or I don't want to stop playing this game, so you plug in your thing and you keep going. If people do that and they find it useful, you're going to have a bunch of people to find this type of technology useful. So that's the reason why we're raising money to build the same thing, to just have a power station that has self-charging in it, and then let the people answer the question, is it useful or not? Because you do understand when I say two charge controllers and what that means, right? Did you?
Yeah, I kind of, cause I haven't been in the WhatsApp group in a couple days, so I haven't been up to date on what you guys are doing. But I,
No,
I
okay.
do kind of, I do
What
kind
I
of
want?
get that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, what I wanted to explain. You have solar panels running off LED lights. Because you're running it off LED lights and it's not light intensity, it's not the sun. You get full voltage, but you don't get your amps.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And we don't want amps in the first place. So now we want to take amps from another source. Whether it's a MOSFET, whether it's a battery, you're getting amps from another
So
source.
somewhere, yeah.
Okay. So now we're just taking off 1 or 2 amps off the battery that may have 100 amps. It may have 20 amps. It has more than the 1 amp we're taking off the system. So it doesn't matter, as long as it's a 12 volt and whatever amp battery you want to pick out. So now we're taking off that 1 amp. So if we're getting a small system in which we showed up on the board, 145 volts, and just the volts from the solar, and then we add in the 1 amp from the battery, which is a separate charge, the two separate charge controller. They're being put directly into the battery. Okay. So you're taking the positive of each charge controller, the one coming from the solar and the one coming from the battery, and hooking it to the positive terminal. You take the two negative from both charge controllers, the one coming from the battery and the one coming from the solar, and you're hooking them together and putting it on the negative terminal. That means the energy from both are mixing and coming from each other directly into the battery, and then you know the other positive and negative is going to be linked, so that you have a loop there.
Yeah.
So once you start seeing that, you now have wattage, because that 145 watts and the amps coming from the battery gives you wattage, and it means that your battery will start charging. So this is all we challenge people to do, is go out and try this, and once you see it, then you can start seeing that we now been working on systems that's way past this simple design, but it's based on that simple design which we want everybody to have. And then people in Africa who is listening, and everybody who's listening, start to see, oh, this is how you did this, and yeah, I'm going to try it. And once they start trying it, they start to understand that we've been doing this work for over 30 years to give you a simple solutions to have systems that self-charge, and we didn't break the laws of physics to do it.
Yeah.
Now tell me, is that not understandable, or is that something is like I don't quite get it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It makes perfect sense. I because before I used to I was in school for robotics, mechatronics, but we use all the same components, so it's very familiar to me, all the um like the circuits and stuff, the design. The one thing too is that I remember back when I was learning about like resistors, transistors, all this stuff. The one component that I actually didn't fully understand at one time was the transistor, because I knew it was like a switch. It was turned on and off. But they didn't really explain all of its capabilities. Like they don't really explain to you the importance of the frequency of it and stuff like that. They sort of just give you a more superficial understanding of it. If you want to go deeper, you kind of have to learn on your own, and that's what I did. And eventually I was kind of almost forced to have to drop, but eventually I sort of just dropped out of the school because I was already ahead, because I was already researching a lot of this stuff on my own anyway. And the
Right,
one reason why I wanted to take this program up was because I wanted to get some information um to learn how to build some of these projects that I'm working on. But
right.
I realized over time that, especially due to stuff with like AI and whatnot, and the fact that I was already doing all my research on my own, it was kind of redundant. So eventually it got to the point to where it's just, yeah, I didn't really need to go there anymore. I was already past everybody. But it's like a lot of the school systems are kind of, they're designed to really make you like an obedient worker. So they don't really teach you anything past what you need to know for the industry.
But
So
that's
any
always been that it was designed
yeah,
that way.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
this is what they call extra credit. If you really want to learn, they're going to teach you the basic. If you want extra credit, you have to get in the library and learn it for yourself.
So yeah,
That's how school is designed. But it's the people who take initiative and learn it for themselves are the people who become rich. These are the people who are running companies and stuff because they took that extra um, time to learn something no one else wanted to do. Okay. So here's the point: you can scrub toilets for another person. And if you know how to manage your money, you'll end up not scrubbing somebody's toilet, but hiring a company, running a company, and hiring people to scrub toilets for you.
for you. Yeah,
Okay, that's called management. Okay, and it's a thin line between that because people who go to work, they're just working for a paycheck. That's called just over broke. But people who learn how to run a system, they was like, why would I go to work at Walmart when I can have my own Walmart?
yeah,
Okay, so it was like all I have to do is manage money correctly and buy inventory and sell it. So again, this is what we're talking about is that how are you going to manage the energy in these systems? So first of all, we gave you a system for you to try out easily because we figured out how to do this and sell it on the market. But the whole point is that now we had to teach other people what the system is about and what size to do it, because I see scam chat is asking, will it charge my car? Yeah, if you make a big enough system, and we've already put up on the thing the size of the solar, but at the time you were asking what size, um you were arguing about the alternator all through the chat. So the whole point is you missed all the important parts of when we were telling you the size and what it does and how much voltage we give out and everything. Will it do this and will it that? You missed half the conversation because you were having a
yes.
different
That's
conversation.
what I was saying too.
Okay, so again, I just wanted to point this out. Maybe it is a video, so you can go back and watch all that, and we show you how to make the system. And if you make the system, you can realize all this stuff for yourself on what size it can be and what's the, we just wanted to show you that it actually does work, that it doesn't break any laws of physics, that you can one, the first thing we have to prove, can I use LED light to run solar? And can I get any power off of it at all? I don't care if it's voltage, amps, what, can I get any usable voltage or any kind of what we call power off the system? And the answer is yes. So that was the number one thing people kept saying, that you cannot use LED lights to run solar. And then I put up the video where the industry tests all their solars on LED lights. So now people are like, well, I've got to go see that for myself. And I says, go here, go wherever you need to go, because this is what they use to test their solar, to make sure all the circuits are hooked up correctly and the solar is giving power off. They use LED lights. They don't run outside in the sun, whether it's raining and shining, and put their solars that don't even got protective glass or something over the top of it outside. They just don't do that. They do all this indoors. So they use LED lights. And that was something I learned. So when you understand that you can do that and you cross the first hurdle, then it's saying, well, okay, we got voltage, but we don't got amps. Is this useful? Well, we now have to get amps. So now we come up with various ways to get amps, one of them being a battery. And we don't have to take off much amperage off of it. So you only need one out of 100 amp battery. If you only need to take 1 amp out, do you think that system is going to shut down? The answer is no. You're only taking 1 amp. If that was the case, when you run your microwave on your inverter, it should just be gone. I mean, it should be depleted in matters of seconds or something, because it should not even run if 1 amp is all it takes to run down your battery. It wouldn't even run for 1 second. You're
Yeah.
going to have to need more than 1 amp to run a microwave or a heat stove or a heater or anything. And all these things we run on small battery packs like EcoFlows in the first place. So now we now answered the second question. We can get amps times volts into the system. We now have wattage. Now, the 5 volts we take off the system, if I got it plugged into the very battery, will it deplete the battery? If I'm putting back the 145 watts of power in the system we just showed, a little small compact, which I could have many of them inside of an EcoFlow. That means I can have 5 or 6 of them running at 145 volts. So if you see that, and he only had one, and he charged up his system from one, and I had two in mine. If you looked at my videos, I have two solars, and you can hook up more than one solar, which I showed in my video. All of a sudden, you start to see that I got the voltage and I got the amps, and yes, I can charge a system using that power. And then I actually showed that running my tie grids and putting energy back into my system of my house directly. So I don't know how this can't be any more easier to understand. You just got to go out and just test it. And once you do, you just cross the hurdle, and then go back and look at everything you just said once you tested it and see that it works. And then look at what you said and tell me, does everything you're asking really make sense?